Hello and welcome to Essex by the Sea. I'm Owen, exploring the Essex coast, finding out about the amazing and interesting stories it has to offer. For this episode, I'm in the historic town of Harwich, and this is the sound of the Time and Tide bell. It's newly been installed in Harwich, and there's a number of people who I'm here to meet who are behind the installation of it. First of all, let's speak to Peter. Peter, you are from the Time and Tide bell organisation. Tell me a bit more about it and what it's for.
We see our role as being promoting the installation of these bells around the coast of the UK. There are now 8, of which most are in England, but there are a couple in Wales and one in Scotland. They are public artworks. They tell a lot of different stories, but one of them, perhaps the most pressing, is a reminder of the fact that the sea level is rising. As the years pass, the way in which these bells ring, because they ring at high tide, the waves strike an object which dangles down from the bell, and that causes the bell to ring. Over the years, the pattern of that ringing will change, and that's all to do with the, as you know, very, very glacial, you might almost call it, rising of sea level. It's at about 5 millimetres a year at the moment, but likely to increase.
The bells that have been installed previously are scattered around the coast of the UK. Is there a particular reason that they've been placed in those locations? I mean, where was the first?
The first was in Appledore in Devon, and the reason for their location, which is organic, I think is probably the best way of describing how the process has happened. It's taken place over the last 15 years. They're to do with people, actually. If you look at the map of them, then you'll think that it is rather an odd placing of them. But it's the people who are in the locations, the villages, the towns that where they're sited, who said, "Oh, this is a beautiful project. We'd like to have one of these bells here." And Marcus, the artist behind the project, or us as an organisation, which has come along in later years, we've responded by saying, yeah, we'd be delighted to help you get one of these installed. And then we've spent the 2, 3, 4 or 5 years it takes to battle your way through all of the planning and fundraising and numerous other issues that go with getting one of these bells installed. I should say also that they're not just public artworks, in the sense that we do have a range of other activities, education programs. We've commissioned some touring artworks to go with them, which all, broadly speaking, are on the same theme of awareness of the fragility of the environment, and in particular the challenge of sea level rise.
You mentioned about the sea level being gradual, but places like here in Harwich, there's some very low-lying parts around Harwich. We've seen coastal erosion increase on the Naze, just down the coast at Walton as well. Increases in the sea levels is going to have a big effect in years to come for coastal locations such as Harwich.
Certainly is, and it's something which, in our view, certainly in my personal view, a society is not facing up to at the moment. It's not thinking through the issues of what happens to the people and their livelihoods and their homes and their workplaces that are on the coast, which will become unworkable in some cases because there isn't the money in the world to build the sea defences to keep some places dry. In other places it's not such a challenge, but there are plenty of bigger parts of the country, not necessarily in Essex, but certainly some smaller places around Essex, and the Harwich coast is vulnerable, that's for sure, where, in decades people will have to move, and no one, in my view, is really thinking very hard about that.
Back to the bells themselves then, that are around the UK and the one here in Harwich. Are they all of the same sort of design? And we'll speak to Marcus, who's designed the one here in Harwich, but or are they all unique and specific to their unique location?
Good question, and the answer is yes and no. The bells themselves, big bronze castings, they are identical. The way the bells are mounted is very much local, and so they are all very different. The one that we've just installed in Harwich is a unique design, which there isn't another one around the coast in the country.
Now the bell has been unveiled, and this weekend that we're recording the episode, it is the International Sea Shanty Festival here in Harwich. So Harwich is thriving today, with loads of people visiting and lots of people getting to see the bell as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a lovely gathering. Must have been 150 people at the launch of the bell, this inauguration perhaps this morning, with a specially composed sea shanty that talked about the time and tide bell. It was a splendid occasion, and we were blessed with a really lovely day as well.
Peter, thank you very much for joining me. Marcus is here as well. Marcus, you are the designer of the bell. Describe what it looks like for us.
It's quite a simple shape. It's an hourglass shape, two bells put together end to end, with a pivot in the middle, so that as the sea moves underneath the bells, which are fixed, they alternatively hit the top and the bottom of the bell, generating a variety of different notes out of the bell forms.
The actual bell itself is stationary. It's not like a church bell that perhaps would swing round or blow in the breeze. This is fixed, but the mechanics inside is what rings the bell.
But basically, if you think of an hourglass or an egg timer, at the narrow waist, that's where the pivot is, and a bar pivots at that, hitting the top of one bell or hitting the bottom of the other bell.
And the waves, as they come crashing in here at Harwich, will ring the bell.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, the design of this form comes from. I was back in 2001. I lived down in Devon on a small farm, and we were in the centre of the foot and mouth outbreak in Devon, and we were locked up for 6 months. And at the end of that 6-month period, my neighbour went and started ringing the church bells. I hadn't really thought about church bells, but on that particular day, they seemed to call me up the hill to the church, and they were my neighbours who I normally see on a regular basis, hadn't seen all this time. And Mr. Baker took me up in the tower, and I saw the bells there, and this extraordinary communication device that can both speak at funerals and at weddings. And I thought this was, as a sculptural subject, a fantastic thing to have. And then my neighbours asked me to make something to commemorate the hardships that we'd been through, and I thought a bell that could be rung by anybody was a nice idea, and that bell was made, and we put it in, which was my first bell, a community bell. And that while I was watching that being tuned at Whitechapel, I realised that, because I'm also a musician, that there were other harmonic constructions that were possible within bells. They don't have to sound like church bells. Church bells sound like they do for a particular reason. And different countries, different cultures make different bells. So I got into the physics of it, and ended up finding a computer program that was originally used to analyze vibration in multi-firing battery systems to stop the backplate from shattering. And I had the idea about inverting the program and maybe designing something in the virtual world which you know would vibrate in a particular way, certain frequencies would be heard, and then could we manufacture that? And the result of that was the time and tide bells. And I wanted to a particular sound to be related. And what I discovered is the shape is the sound and the sound is the shape. And if you see these bells, they are kind of crenellated, they're corrugated in there. And that is to create this particular sound which has all the partials are in tune, and it's got a major harmony to most, which is a brighter, more positive sound than the church bell, which has a minor harmonic relationship. For those people who are musicians will appreciate that difference. Having made that shape, because this had never been done before, I then thought, well, where could this bell speak? And I thought our relationship with the sea that both gives and takes is these bells could respond to that complicated environment.
At the unveiling, over 100 people are there. How does that make you feel, knowing the piece of art, the musical instrument that you've created is now going to be enjoyed by so many people?
I think different people make things for different reasons. For me, the thing that really gives me the joy is seeing all the things that have happened around this bell. There's Libby here, who's done these fantastic things with beach schools. We've got citizen science. The things that have come subsequently from my idea that happened in the back in Devon years ago, it has grown to something. That's the thing that I find gives me the most pride and pleasure.
Marcus, thank you ever so much indeed. Joining us now on the podcast is Libby. Libby, essentially, I understand your idea to install a bell here in Harwich. Is that right?
Yes. So what happened in 2020, I was looking at, I went down an internet hole, I suppose you call it. I was researching doing beach schools, and I looked at somebody who's doing a beach school up the coast in Brightlingsea, Juliet Heppel. She's involved with the Time and Tide Bell. And there was something on her page that led me to looking at the Time and Tide Bell project. And I started looking at that, and I saw that they'd put an advert out for, we need new homes for bells, so if you think your town would be interesting, give us a call, da-da-da-da. And I thought, yeah, literally, I remember making this, sending them a message very quickly on Facebook or whatever messaging system it was, I can't remember, and saying, you should come to Harwich. Harwich would be great. I think it'd be great for this. We've got loads of history, yada, yada, yada. Come here, da, da, da. And they answered me, and we got a meeting organised, and then we went and looked around at the coast, and then we came back to the Alma, and we had a meeting with people from the district council, town council, somebody involved in the arts. There were lots of different people here, seemed to think it would be a good idea, and that's how it all started.
A lot of coordination then, 2 years in the undertaking from that initial spark of interest to actually being installed. And as you say, loads of people involved with that. I know Trinity House were involved with helping to actually install the bell on the waterfront here in Harwich. And as you say, the town council and planners and the local community and societies as well. What does it mean for Harwich now to have this bell in place, do you think?
Well, somebody said to me regarding the Kindertransport installation that we have here, interest is quiet at the beginning and then it builds, and it kind of builds exponentially until it gets really close to the date or time that it's happening, and then interest really peaks, and that's exactly what's happened here. I think any community is full of a mixture of inclination. You'll get those that are behind it, those that are interested, those that have no interest, those that are against it. And there's been a great big sway towards those that are interested. So for us here in Harwich, what does it mean? Number one, it's great to have something beautiful on our coastline, something different. Number two, it's great to have something that gets people talking. Number three, it's great to have something that will have ongoing resonance in the community, whether it be tourism, because people will come here knowing that there's a bell here. People will talk about it because of the noise that it makes, or whether they really enjoy the sound of it, which is something that's come out over the last 2 or 3 days. Oh, the sound is amazing. Personally, I'm looking for a time when it's all calmed down a bit and I can just go and sit down and enjoy the sound on my own.
And it's not just about an art installation, a nice sound when the tide is ebbing and flowing. It's led on to other things as well, isn't it, that you've now been involved with? Yeah,
as somebody who delivers beach school, it's a lovely addition to beach school in that I can say what it's for. It's talking about climate change, it's talking about rising sea levels. Then there's just the mechanism of it being to do with tides. There are children here in this town that don't frequent the beach, that have never been to the beach. So perhaps it's something that will encourage them to drag their families out. And then there's from thinking about our relationships with the sea, it's talking about heritage, history. So part of that, I've been involved in Coastal Connections project, which is interviewing people locally that have had a relationship with the sea in some way or another all their lives. If the sea has changed and the coast has changed, their work or their life has changed.
Now that the bell's installed, it's been unveiled, everybody knows about it now, how does that make you feel?
Really proud of our community. Really proud. This is a struggling community in many ways. It's second highest on the child deprivation scale here. So you've got an awful lot of struggling families who, being part of their coastal community, might not be high on their agenda. You know, they've got to, with the rising fuel costs, the rising cost of living, that's what they've got to sort out. So perhaps if I can engage them in what's going on at the seaside, what's going on with our sea, what's going on with our world. If I've impacted, or if the bell has impacted lives, I'm just really delighted with that. I'm really proud of the community for putting their hands in the pockets to help pay for it, because there isn't a terrific amount of spare cash around, and helping to pay for something that doesn't bring much to your life, your kitchen table, is a big ask. I'm just really delighted that so many people have invested, and local businesses have seen the potential and got involved. So in that way, we've got it's become a nice big sort of family, as you were, not just a community, because we are a big family here. It's big, a family project as opposed to just a community project. It brings us all together, really.
I very much get that sense from the few people that I've just met today recording this episode of Essex by the Sea. Libby, thank you so much for chatting to me. Thank you also to Marcus and to Peter as well for joining me on this episode of Essex by the Sea.
Thank you very much for having us.
Don't forget, you can follow Essex by the Sea on a lot of social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok as well. So until next time, thank you very much for listening.